All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Torah Studies. This week's Torah portion is Emor, and we have a phenomenal class in store tonight. So I want to set the conversation, kind of set the stage, by referencing something that is a major theme of this week's Torah portion, a theme of this week's Torah portion, Shabbat and the holidays. There are a few times in Torah when the Torah goes through, essentially, I guess we would call it the Jewish calendar. There's a few places it's in Devarim and Deuteronomy, and it's also here in Leviticus toward the end, where we have a conversation and a discussion about the holidays. And the holidays would include the major biblical ones, right, because it's in the Torah. So we would be talking about Passover and Shavuot and Sukkot and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Hey, everyone. And those are the holidays that are discussed in the Torah. Those are the holidays that are repeated. And sometimes the Torah tells us how to observe the holiday, the length of the holiday, how many days. Sometimes the Torah tells us which offerings and sacrifices to bring on those holidays. So there are different discussions in the Torah regarding the holidays, but one thing seems to be fairly certain until tonight's class, and that is that a holiday is a limited time only event. So I remember growing up in Pittsburgh, and Mom, you can certainly, I think you can corroborate this. Growing up, one of the big department stores in my era growing up that doesn't exist anymore was a place called Kaufman's. Anybody ever hear the chain called Kaufman's? No? Okay, Kaufman's was one of the anchor stores. And in the Pittsburgh Press and the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, back then they had two papers. I think now they're bordering on zero, I think. Maybe, because everything's shutting down. Or somebody just recently said they're going to buy it. I don't know. I've been kind of peripherally following it. But I remember in the newspapers, every weekend, they would have a clearance sale. Some sort of like crazy advertisements with crazy sales. This weekend only, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 50% off this stuff, 40% off that stuff, 70% off the other stuff. And it was funny growing up. And just looking at this, like every week there's a sale. I'm like, who's buying at regular price? Every week there's a sale. And I mention this because sometimes limited time only means limited time only. And sometimes limited time only means until the next time. Right. But when it comes to the holidays and it comes to Shabbat, you and I might think, well, limited time only really means limited time only. Like Shabbat is only 24, 25 hours a week. Yom Kippur is only one day a year. Rosh Hashanah is, 2 days a year, right? 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Passover is, a week. Sukkot is a week, plus a little bit. And depends where you are, exactly. I know, that's why I'm like, 7 days, 8 days, 9 days, depending on where you are, Israel or not Israel, whatever. Shavuot also depends, either 1 day in Israel or 2 days out of Israel. Either way, we'd be, I think, on solid ground to say that Shabbat and holidays are the example of mitzvot that are very much limited in time. And if you miss it, you miss it. And if you don't miss it, you got it. But you only got it for when it's here. Because after it's gone, see you later. Okay, which takes us into a discussion that seems to corroborate this idea. So let's begin. Let's begin our conversation inside, and we begin with text number 1. Now, I love text number 1. Text number 1 comes from Sefer HaChinuch, which literally means the book of education. Yeah, Chinuch means education, book of education. And it's a book that explains the rationale, the philosophical and spiritual rationale behind each and every one of the 613 mitzvot. It's amazing. It's not just a list. That we have. We have multiple lists of the 613 mitzvot that the great sages put together. This is an explanation of the mitzvot along with some very important general principles. So, David, if you don't mind, please get us launched inside with text 1a. Again, this is coming straight from Sefer HaChinuch.
There are 6 commandments, the obligation of which is constant. It is lifelong and never leaves us for even a moment. They are to believe in God, to to not believe in anything besides him, to believe in his absolute oneness, to love God, to fear God, to not stray after the feelings of the heart and the vision of the eyes.
Okay, so the Sefer HaChinuch writes that there are 6 constant mitzvot. Now, what does it mean constant? Wherever you are, whatever state you're in, you don't need like a pair of tefillin to wrap or Shabbat candles to light. You don't need any accessories. These are mitzvot you can do always, wherever you are, whoever you are, etc. And what are these 6 mitzvot? Again, you read them, but just to reiterate them: believing in God, not to believe in anything else, believe in his oneness, to love God, to fear God, and not to stray after feelings of the heart and the vision of the eyes. Okay, so those are things that you can do wherever you are, whenever you are. Great. What about the holidays? What about Shabbat? Very much not constant mitzvot, right? Who's keeping Shabbat constantly? Who's keeping Yom Kippur constantly? I mean, that would end pretty fast. Get it? Fast? I mean, you can't, I know, terrible puns. But you can't, that's not a sustainable thing. Now let's take a look at text 1b, where again the Sefer HaChinuch continues to explain, to describe mitzvot that do not fall into the category of constant mitzvot. David, please, if you will, 1b.
Among the commandments, there are those that a person is obligated to do at a specific time and not earlier, such as the commandment to dwell in a sukkah, to wave the lulav, to rest on the holidays, to recite Shema, etc., which have a set time in the year or the day. These obligations are not perpetual. They only pertain to certain times of the year or day.
And that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for reading that. It makes a lot of sense. Dwelling in a sukkah, 7 days. Waving the lulav, same 7 days. Resting on the holidays, and not on the holidays. Recite Shema in the morning and in the evening. So that's not a holiday, but it's also a specific time-based mitzvah. And basically, there are certain mitzvot that are not constant. So he contrasts the mitzvot that are constant with the mitzvot that are not constant. Some are constant, and he listed 6, and some are not constant. Like Sukkot, it's not constant. 7 days a year, and that's it. Okay, that's how you and I would think about it. Today we go much deeper. And I got to tell you, the premise of today's lesson, and the takeaway of tonight's class is going to be, let me tell you the end before we even get to the beginning almost of this conversation. The end is that even the mitzvot that seem to be time constrained, let's say like a Shabbat that's only one demarcation in time, really are meant to permeate and influence the entirety of time itself. Not just the one day, but all the days. And that also would pertain to Sukkot and Passover and Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, etc. They're all meant to move outside of their constraints within time and really become a little bit more timeless. We're going to see this through the lens of Jewish philosophy, Jewish mysticism, a little Kabbalah, which we always love throwing in, to see how we elevate time beyond time itself. To do this, I want to share with you an interesting wrinkle in Jewish terminology. Now, this is going to sound very specific, meaning very particular, which it is. But please stay with me for a moment. In the first iteration, or I don't know if the right word is iteration, the first work of the oral Torah being written down, the laws are divided, or were divided into 6 orders, or 6 large sections. Now, of course, the first writing of the oral law is contained in a work that we call the Mishnah. Mishnah literally means teaching, but in this case it's a reference to the teachings of the oral law. Now, just to clarify this, at Sinai we got the written law. The written law is contained word for word, hasn't changed in 3,300 years, in the Torah scrolls that we have in our synagogues. There's never been an alternative version. There's never been found archaeologically a different version. It's always the same version, the same Torah, the same words, the same script. However, if you've ever read the Torah, you've probably encountered the challenge that it's very hard to make sense of what it's saying. Not only do you need commentary to explain some of the narrative and some of the dialogue, but you also need a little help understanding the very laws themselves. Like, what does it mean to put fringes on the corner of your 4-corner garment? Fringes, you say? Fringes, I ask, what perchance are fringes? I don't know why perchance came in, but here you go. Like, what are fringes? Like, I don't know. So you have this whole body of Torah which explains what the written Torah is trying to say, is saying. Now, where do these elucidations come from? Many come from the source, meaning God to Moses on Mount Sinai. Then Moses told us verbally what's what. Some are deduced by the scholars from the written text based on various principles of elucidation and deduction. Some of the oral tradition has been legislated, meaning there are rabbinic laws that are legislated to be a fence for the Torah. Within the oral law, there are multiple layers of what that means. Some are original explanations, some are clarifications, aftermarket, and some are even legislations that are meant to enhance and sustain the viability of Jewish law and Torah law. Okay, so that's all I'm trying to compress 3,300 years of scholarship into a very simple way of understanding it. All of this for how long? Probably 1,500 years. And aside from the written law, the rest of it was all committed to memory and taught teacher to student, parent to child for 1,500 years, until after the destruction of the Second Temple. And then it became time, the rabbis felt it became time to write it down, because otherwise it would get lost and Judaism would cease to exist. The Romans put a ban after the Second Temple's destruction, and after some uprisings that they put down within Judea. So they came out with severe bans against Jewish practice and Jewish teachings and rabbinic ordination, the whole deal. And if it wasn't written down, Judaism would be over. The fact that we still have Judaism today and Jewish law today is only because it was written down. Okay, so that being said, the Mishnah, which is that first iteration of the writing of the oral law, the Mishnah contains 6 orders. There is Nezikin, laws of damages. There is Kodshim, the law of purities, like things that are pure and impure. 6 various categories, large categories, with, of course, many, many, many thousands of laws and details within each category. One of them is called Moed. Moed, you might be familiar with that word Moed. Who's familiar with the word Moed? What is it? Moed means time, but Moed really means, in the context of seasons. Moed really means an appointed time, like a designated, maybe designated is better, a designated time. Now, what would be in that classification of designated times? Like if I were to tell you that there's a section of Jewish law that deals with designated times, what do you think that section would deal with? Holidays. Oh, you guys are good. Right, holidays. Because holidays are all designated times in the calendar. So Passover is one of the designated times. Sukkot, one of the designated times. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, you got it, all designated times. And Shabbat is also a weekly holiday, weekly designated time. Great. Here's the wrinkle, and I know it's very specific. I already said this a few minutes ago before my intro, but stick with me. About 1,000 years after the Mishnah was penned, there was a rabbi known as Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon. We know him as Rambam, or in English, Maimonides. Rabbi Moshe, the son of Maimon, hence Maimonides. I guess the Ides means the son of. Maimonides means Maimon's son. Rabbi Moshe, the son of Maimon, wrote a compendium of Jewish law, 14 volumes, called the Mishnah Torah. There's the Mishnah, and 1,000 years later, Maimonides wrote the Mishnah Torah. He borrowed the same language. And by the way, he said that if you study the Mishnah and you study my work, you're pretty much covered. In fact, on his tombstone in Tiberias, in Tiberia, it says on his tombstone, Mi Moshe va'ad Moshe lo kam kemoshe. From Moses until Moses, there was none like Moses. You know what that means? From the original Moses to Moses Maimonides, there was no one like Moses. It's a pretty bold statement on one's. I don't know who wrote the language, but that's high praise, essentially equating him with OG Moses. That's again a pretty big.
It was probably in his will.
I don't know. I think he was a humble guy, but it's But it's really beautiful. And in truth, it's remarkable. But what he does, and this is the point of what I'm getting to, and I'm getting to it right now, he changes the name, because he created not 6 categories, but 14 volumes, 14 categories. It's just how you slice it. But what the name that he gave to the book that's on the holidays, he didn't call Moed or Moadim. No. He called it Zmanim. Help me out, guys. What's the Hebrew word Zman? What does Zman mean?
It's also time.
Time. Zmanim would be times. So what's the difference between Moed and Zman or Zmanim? Moed versus Zman. I already told you, Moed means set times. Zman means time. Here's how the mystics explain it. You ready? What was Maimonides doing? Maimonides was a philosopher. I'm sure he would be surprised to know that the mystics derived messages from his modification. But listen to what he did. He took Moed and turned it into Zmanim. He took set times and transformed it into time itself, to tell us and to teach us the important idea and the concept that is the theme of today's lesson. And that is, a holiday or Shabbat is not meant to stick into a specific designated time. Rather, the energy and the influence is meant to permeate all time. That's the difference between Moed and Zman. Moed is a specific time, Zman is all the time. And although these are holidays that have a fixed date on the calendar, it begins on X day and it ends on Y day, whatever. Begins on this day and ends on that day. Nonetheless, and so it's a Moed, it's a segment in time. No. Says Maimonides, through recalibrating the general classification of what this is. No. This is not a Moed, it's Zmanim. It's all the times, because we're meant to carry the inspiration. And tonight we're going to go through this on 4 levels. I think 4 levels. Let's see how many levels we get. I want to explore this on a Jewish legal level, like on a technical level. What does it mean? What does it mean that holidays transcend their specific time and kind of bleed into the rest of time? What does that mean? 4 levels of explanation. Legal, physical, spiritual, and the last one is going to be, what would we call it?
Mystical?
Not really, maybe inspirational. So legal, physical, spiritual, and inspirational. So let's go. Let's begin with Rabbi Engel. So the text that we're going to start with, we're going to skip 2a and 2b. Those texts are going to be a little bit too technical for us to really extract. I think it's... All right, let's do it. I don't want to skip text at the end, not at the beginning. Okay, let's go. Let's do it. Ramon, if you don't mind, please read text 2a. Let me explain what text 2a is. In Zmanim, in the Sefer Zmanim, in the book of Zmanim, one of the 14 volumes of Maimonides' Mishnah Torah, he writes at the beginning of each book, he writes a verse. He quotes a verse. Lahavdil, you see authors that kind of write in the beginning of their chapters, they'll quote like some sort of, something, a quote, they'll cite a quote. So Maimonides does quotes a verse from Scripture. This is his header for Zmanim, for the holiday section. Ramon, please read text 2a.
I inherited your testimonies forever, for they are the joy of my heart.
So if you notice, testimonies, the meaning of testimonies are the mitzvot that bear testimony to something, like the holidays. But if you notice, the word right after testimonies is forever. Now, testimonies would seem to be a limited time only, like we've been discussing. It seems like, it's a holiday that only takes place on this day or that day. But then you have the word forever. And so what does that mean? Text 2b, the Radak, one of the medieval commentaries, writes the following. Ramon, take it away, please.
Your testimonials are like an inheritance to me, meaning that I am locked into them just as we are perpetually locked into our inheritance. There is never a time when I depart from them and don't abide by them.
Take a look at this. Your testimonials are an inheritance, and therefore we are locked into them, and there's never a time when we don't abide by them. You know what that means? It It means that even though a holiday only seems to take place from one day to another day, meaning between the span of start date and end date, nonetheless they are really on some level perpetual. How so? So that was all the preamble. Now we get into the 4 levels. Level 1, halachic or technical level. This is text 2c. Ramon, please read this one as well.
All year long, we are obligated to fast on Yom Kippur. From the day we become Jewish adults, we are always bound to waving a lulav and dwelling in the sukkah during the Sukkot. The obligation is constant, though the actual observance is only kept during the festival. The label time-bound commandments, which distinguishes occasional rituals from continuous commandments, only pertains to their actual performance. Their obligations, however, are continual, equally binding before, during, and after their respective time slots.
So let me explain what he's saying. Thank you for reading that. What he's saying is that even though we only observe Sukkot on Sukkot, the obligation to observe Sukkot is constant. We are always obligated to observe Sukkot when Sukkot takes place. You see that little twist? Meaning, it's not that when it's not Sukkot, we're not obligated to observe Sukkot. We're like today, right now, you and I are obligated to wave a lulav on Sukkot. It's not Sukkot, so we're not going to do it, but we're still obligated. Okay, it's not Passover. Let me just do he used Sukkot, but let's say maybe he wrote it around Sukkot time. We just had Passover. So we don't have a mitzvah to eat matzah today, but we do have a mitzvah right now that when it's Passover to eat matzah. So that makes it, yeah? Yeah? Okay, good. It's a little bit of a twist. So what's the point? In Jewish legal or technical terminology, there's sometimes something known as a chakira. Chakira means where you can look at something one way or another way. I mean, there's 2 ways that you can look at something. So when it comes to mitzvahs, you can look at it in one of 2 ways. Gavra, this is like yeshiva analytical kind of deep learning here. So bear with me for a moment. There's something called gavra, and then there's something called chefza. Gavra means the person, chefza means the object. So for example, when it comes to the mitzvah of putting up a mezuzah on your front door, right? Is it a mitzvah on the gavra or is it a mitzvah on the chefza? Is it a mitzvah that you should put up a mezuzah or that your house should have a mezuzah on it? You understand the difference? Right? Is it on you or on the house? And you can ask the same by every mitzvah. And the great scholars discuss and debate and prove which one is this and which one is that. But I think in a similar way, I think that's what Rabbi Yosef Engel is talking about in what he just wrote. Meaning, when it comes to, let's use the example of Passover. We just had it. So there's a mitzvah on Passover to eat matzah, but it's not Passover today. So we're not going to eat matzah, right? We're not eating matzah today. It's not Pesach, not Passover. Great, but that's only because Passover is not here. But I'm still obligated to keep Passover when it does come around. So I still have the obligation. I can't do it because it's not here. Does that make sense? Like the opportunity, the mitzvah opportunity hasn't yet arrived. But I'm still obligated to do it when it arrives. And that's a constant obligation. So on the one hand, we might say that every holiday is a very limited obligation for a limited amount of time. Or you could say on a halachic level, on a Jewish legal level, that no, it's not a limited obligation. It's a constant 365 days a year. I have the obligation that when it's Passover, I should eat matzah. Okay, so that's how it's timeless. That's level 1. Level 2, and I love this. Level 2 is practical. On a practical level, let's talk about Shabbat for a moment. Shabbat doesn't only exist within the 24, 25 hours between sundown on Friday evening and 3 stars coming out, nightfall on Saturday night. Shabbat exists also outside of that time frame on a very practical, pragmatic, physical level. Let's talk about this and let's read some text to understand what I'm saying and what I'm trying to say. Take a look at text 3a. Here Maimonides, in his Laws of Shabbat, talks about all of the things that must be done before Shabbat to get ready for Shabbat, thus extending the experience outside of the 24 or 25 hours. Dasi.
It is a mitzvah to honor Shabbat by bathing our faces, hands, and feet in hot water on Friday. We wrap ourselves in tzitzit and sit with proper respect, waiting to receive Shabbos as one would go out to greet a king. We wear clean garments to honor Shabbat. Ezra ordained that we do laundry on Thursday in honor of Shabbat.
By the way, Ezra, do you know when Ezra lived? Ezra lived at the beginning of the Second Temple era, which is about 2,500 years ago. Ezra did not work for Tide. Okay, this is not like big detergent, like getting involved. Ezra ordained 2,500 years ago to do laundry on Thursday. I doubt it looks like the way I do laundry. I don't think it's the same way. I don't know what they did. I think they beat the.
Didn't they have the Maytag repairman back then?
Maybe.
The Maytag
Maytag repairman. By the way, Maytag might still. Does Maytag exist though?
Yeah.
It does exist? It does exist.
It's a whirlpool.
Whirlpool. Okay, got it. All right. Anyway, but it's so cool how Jewish law talks about the things we need to do to get ready. All right, continue, please.
We must set our table on Friday and clean the house during the day in honor of Shabbat. There must be a candle, a set table, and a couch bedecked with spreads for all these elements on our Shabbos. Even a distinguished person who is not in the habit of making purchases in the market or performing menial tasks at home must prepare for Shabbat in person. Our earliest sages, some chopped wood for cooking, some cooked, some salted meat, some braided wicks, some kindled lamps. Others went out and purchased food and beverages for Shabbat, though this was not their ordinary practice.
And so you will find me at Kroger or Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or whatever it is on Friday or maybe Thursday evening, buying food for Shabbat. Or you might find me on Instacart ordering food. Either way, it doesn't matter. Either way, it's about doing the things to get ready for Shabbat, the preparations for Shabbat. That's how we honor Shabbat. That's also how we enjoy Shabbat because, listen, we are a very serious seltzer home, my family. Like LaCroix, Polar, all that stuff. We are all in on the bubbly water. That's it, right? I don't need any artificial sweetener. Just give me a little spritz of like either real or fake grapefruit taste or like whatever it is, mango, something. Good. So the point is that if there's no beverage, how are you going to enjoy Shabbat without seltzer? Like it's not even going to happen. They tell a joke where there's like the three soldiers in the war, like out of nothing to drink, and they're each. So the French soldier is crying out, "Agua!" French is what do you say? No, for water. What's the French word for water?
Oh.
What?
E-A-U.
Oh, like O-D, Omer? Oh. And the Spanish soldier is saying agua, whatever. And the Jewish soldier is saying seltzer. That's the joke. The point is that, like, by the way, when we moved to Atlanta, there's no seltzer in Atlanta. It's seltzer in New York, seltzer in, I don't know, wherever. By the way, Mom, I remember growing up, remember Zaidi, my grandfather had a glass bottle with a dispenser on it, with a trigger? Is that a memory? Is that a false memory? Is that a real memory?
But now you have SodaStream.
Now you have SodaStream. You can do that also at home. Anyway, back to the story. You want meat, you want wine, you want grape juice, you want sushi, you want to make a sushi salad, you want whatever you want. You have a nice Shabbat meal. You got to make it happen. You got to have your table set. You got to hustle. And when does the hustle start? Already Thursday. By the way, what's not in that quote from Maimonides is a story from the Talmud. The Talmud says that a great rabbi, who was it? Was it Hillel? Might have been Hillel. Somebody. One of the great sages. He used to go to the market every day for Shabbat. So here's how it works. Sunday, he was already looking for a good fish. Like, I need a good fish. Keep it on ice, right? Sunday, for the next weekend. Looking for it. He went the next day. He bought the best one. He would go Monday. If he found the better one, he would buy the better one and eat the other one. He would go Tuesday. Apparently, he just liked eating fish. But that's what he did. Every day he went. And you live with Shabbos every day. You find something good, I'm buying it for Shabbos. You find a new thing, like, there's a new little snack, a little treat, a little thing for the kiddos. Boom, you get it, save it for Shabbos.
My father used to buy a live carp at the market and bring it home and keep it in the bathtub until we were ready to eat it.
Hold on. Alive?
Live.
Swimming in the bathtub?
Yeah.
Epic. Absolutely epic.
Serious.
I love that. How big was the carp?
It was big.
How big was the bathtub? Bigger.
Bigger.
Did he then make his own gefilte fish from it?
He did.
Oh, really?
He did.
Wow.
Not all the time. But
That's
sometimes.
impressive.
He made the gefilte fish.
Homemade gefilte fish?
Yeah.
Wow. Not for the faint of carp. I'm kidding. Ooh. All right. Now, one second. It just reminded me of, yes.
Ari, the story about the carp swimming in the bathtub?
Yeah.
I remember that.
You also had that?
Sure.
There you go.
Did you grow up in Tova's house?
Sisters. One second. Here's the, you know there's a book with Otto, the fish, where the kid gets a fish and the guy says, don't only give a pinch of food and not any more. And then the kid feeds the fish too much and the fish gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's a kid's book. And the kid has to take the fish and move it from the bowl to a pot, and from the pot to a this, and from the this to that. And eventually it ends up in a swimming pool, pulled in by a crane, and it keeps on growing, and he has to go back to the guy who sold the fish guy, and he says, all right, I'll help. And he dives in, and somehow he gets the fish back to the right size. And I don't remember the moral of the story. Don't overfeed your fish. That's the direct moral. Don't feed the fish too much. Oh, I also remember, speaking of fish, I don't want to carp on this, but, oh my gosh. But, I know.
They're getting worse.
They're getting worse. There used to be a festival or a carnival. Very fishy. There was a carnival when I was growing up that every year, I don't know what it was, or where was, did our school go? Did we just go? I don't know. But it was very easy to win a goldfish. And you got the goldfish in a bag. You know, you ever see, like back in the day, you got like a bag with a goldfish? Yeah. And every year I got one, and then I brought it home, and then it summarily died after a little bit. You put it in a bowl, but then you fed it, and then it died. But there was one fish. I don't know how old I was when I got it, but it lived, and it kept on living. And I went away to yeshiva out of town, and I went to London, and I went to New Jersey, and I went to Miami, and I went to New York, and it kept on living. Mom, how long did that fish live? And then my mother took care of it for all this. I think you're on mute. Yeah, like the fish lived. That was it. You're still on mute. We can't hear you. It's not working. All right. Well, now we have the suspense. We'll have to wait to find out how long did that fish last. It lasted. It lived for years. For years. Anyway, back to the story. So, what's a way to extend the Shabbat experience beyond the 24 or 25 hours? Is by the preparations we do on the front end, right? Let's go back inside. Let's look at.
Also have Psalm of the Day.
Oh,
Counting towards
yes. Today, excellent. Today, right? We don't call it Sunday in Jewish lingo. It's the first day to Shabbat, or the second, meaning day 1 to Shabbat, day 2 to Shabbat, 3 to the Shabbat. Exactly. Yeah, very well said. Let's take a look at 3b. Oh, if you don't mind, Tasia, please continue. Oh, this is about holidays. That was Shabbat, this is holidays.
Our sages declared it a mitzvah to cut our hair the day before a Jewish festival, so we don't enter the festival unkempt. It is also a mitzvah to bathe in hot water, wash our hair with soap, and trim our nails on the day before a festival as it is before Shabbat.
I should probably mention that maybe back in the day, they didn't do it every day, but for sure before Shabbat and holidays, you gotta be well groomed. Continue, please.
It is also a mitzvah to knead bread at home on the day before a festival to honor the festival, as it is on Friday to honor Shabbos. How does one bring joy to one's family during the festivals? We distribute treats to the children and provide finery and jewelry to the women as we can afford. During the temple era, men ate meat from the peace offerings to be joyful. Today, since the temple is not standing, the obligation to be joyful can only be fulfilled for men with wine.
So here we have a nice list of things. So starting from the beginning very quickly, it's about being properly groomed. So haircut, nails trimmed, bathed, showered, clean, right? Then it goes into baking bread. We call it challah. You know why we call it challah? You guys probably know, right? Mm-hmm. Challah is not that. Challah is such a misnomer. There's a mitzvah in the Torah that when you bake bread, you should take a portion of it and give it to the Kohen. Mm-hmm. That's called challah. Not a certain type of bread, but like that's been totally whatever. Anyway, you take challah from any time. The mitzvah is to take a portion called challah from every type of bread. You can make sourdough. My wife makes sourdough bread. You take challah from that, but for whatever reason, colloquially, challah has become the twisted loaf of bread, which is delicious, which is fine. The point is to also, one way to honor it is by baking fresh bread for Shabbat. That's a beautiful way to do it. And again, just going through this. And then you bring joy to the family. And it's again, this is instruction to the men folk. Make sure that you buy new clothing for your wife and treats for the kids, and make sure everyone goes into the holiday in a festive mood. Did I just say clothes? Did I say jewelry? I meant jewelry. Clothing and jewelry. It says finery. Finery means clothes and jewelry. It's a mitzvah. Many, not many. That's like an understatement. It's in halacha. It's codified in Jewish law that you're supposed to buy your wife something new for the holiday, whether it's a new, whatever it is, something new,
Car.
A new car? I don't know. That would be. It doesn't say car. Although it does remind me of Price is Right. Right? When you had the Showcase Showdown, a new car, right? When they would announce it like that. I always love that show. Okay, so 1 second. All right. Yes, so that's how we honor the holiday before the holiday to extend its influence beyond what is already there. Now let's continue. Let's talk about the spiritual level. So we talked about it on a technical level. You always have the obligation for Passover, even though Passover is not here. And likewise, right? We always have Passover, even though it's not here. So it's constant. On a physical level, on a pragmatic level, you also have the notion that you need to prepare for Shabbat and prepare for festivals. So it's longer than just that segment in time itself. And now we get into the spiritual preparation. And I love this text so much. It's so powerful. And it explains a lot of customs that people have in getting ready for Shabbat. Meira, please take it away. This is going to be, sorry, I don't know what I just did here. Hold on. This is going to be text number 4. Yes.
On Wednesday, a Jew wonders, how will I make Shabbat? This is not just a concern about material provisions, but also about spiritual provisions. On Shabbat, a Jew is more spiritual, and we grow despondent as we wonder where the inspiration might come from. On Wednesday, the solution is to sing and trust that God will provide. However, on Thursday, as Shabbat draws closer and inspiration has yet to strike, it becomes harder to sing. We realize that we must do something to generate the Shabbat inspiration. On Thursday night, we sit down to study Chassidut. This brings about the inspiration, and by Friday we appreciate God's profundity and glorious majesty. With this we are rendered Shabbat Yidden.
All right, so this is a nice Hasidic anecdote. On Wednesday, what do we do? So the song of the day is L'chun Ran Hashem. Let's sing to God. God will help us get inspired, right? If we build it, they will come. I don't know if that's what I'm trying to say, but I said it. Then you have Thursday, still not feeling it. All right, so you stay up late at night, Thursday night, study Chassidut, study spiritual text to get you in the mood. By Friday, hopefully everything's kicked in and you're ready to roll. You're ready to enter Shabbat with the right spirit, and you can really, proclaim God, God's majesty and jump into the Shabbat with that inspiration. Okay, so again, that's the spiritual preparation. That's level 3. We also have, then we have level 4. Level 4 is the idea of not preparing for Shabbat or the festivals, but it's rather the takeaway from Shabbat or the and the festivals. This is going to be text number 5. Merle, please take it away.
When Jews made their 3 annual pilgrimages to the Holy Temple for the festivals, God was revealed, and they prostrated before him, their souls experiencing sublimation. Their will was nullified before God's will. They had no yearning or desire except for what God desired. Every Jew, each according to their capacity, saw and internalized God when visiting the Holy Temple. These sublime experiences lingered after the pilgrimage for the rest of the year. The experience of each festival lasted until the next festival. Now that the Holy Temple had been destroyed, we can no longer prostrate before God. Nevertheless, a glimmer of this sacred sublimation can be experienced during our festivals, in our synagogues and study halls during prayer, when Jews connect with God and strive for holistic sublimation, each according to their capacity.
Thank you. It's a beautiful text that talks about how back in the days of the temple, as we just saw, right back in the days of the temple, you would go to the Holy Temple, you would be so connected with God and have such an epiphany experience, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, that you would come home and it would stay with you. And we don't have a temple and we don't have the miracles that were in the, it's not exactly the same, but in some way, in some maybe smaller way, each of us can have an uplifted experience on Shabbat or during a festival and then carry that with us in the times afterwards. And this helps explain, this helps make sense of a really beautiful line from the book of Shemot, from the book of Exodus. Toba, please read text number 6.
It is an eternal sign between me and the children of Israel that God made the heavens and earth in 6 days and ceased and rested on the seventh.
And that is the rationale for observing Shabbat, because Shabbat is the eternal sign that God created heaven and earth. But look at that. It's an eternal sign. You know what that means? It's timeless. But wait, isn't Shabbat just one? Isn't it that we're only remembering that once a week? No. We might be remembering it or observing it once a week, but the inspiration of what it means is meant to carry with us. Every day of the week, we should have the same perspective. God's in control. God created this. God loves me. God has taken care of me. I don't need to think that if I don't create it, it's not going to exist. I can surrender, right, as it were, on some level. We still have to do, right, 6 days a week you shall work, the Torah says. But nonetheless, I can surrender, recognizing that at the very least, the outcomes are designed by God, because that is one of the greatest truths in life. You can do the work, the outcome is never determined. There is no determination or determinism on our end by doing the work that we will see the outcome. That is always outside of our control. You can work on a deal and work and it can fall through. And you can wake up one day and someone calls you and puts in an order, and now you made a lot of money. And that's the way it works. Sometimes you can say, well, I did the work and it paid off. Sometimes I didn't do the work and it didn't pay off. I get that, but there's enough that goes the other way to kind of break that causation, because the truth is we're meant to do the work when we're meant to do the work, but at the same time it is a little bit beyond us, and that is the surrender. That is really the message of Shabbat. One of the first ways that we as a people observe Shabbat was in the falling of the manna from heaven. Right? So the manna, when they left Egypt, all they had was the matzah on their backs, and that only lasted, a few days, and then afterwards they ran out of food. And so what do you do if you're in the wilderness and you have no food? And Instacart or Uber Eats hasn't yet existed. So what do you do at that point? So the Torah says that people, what do? As is the age-old Jewish tradition, they complained, right? They complained to whom? To Moshe. And they said to Moses, you took us out of Egypt for this? We have no food. At least in Egypt we had some food. Now what are we supposed to do? So, of course, the manna fell from heaven, and it fell. And they got very few restrictions or limitations on the manna. Like, you could eat it how you wanted, you could prepare it you could do whatever you want with it. But there were two things, two restrictions. Number one, you could not leave over any for the next morning. Like God tells Moshe, tell the people, do not save some for tomorrow. Eat it, and that's it. The second one is, it's not going to fall on Shabbat. 2 portions are going to fall on Friday, for Friday and Shabbat. You don't go out. You're not going to prepare food or the manna, whatever food, on Shabbat. You don't need to, and you shouldn't. Shabbat is a day of rest. So what do some people do? They save some for the next morning. And by the way, it's normal. Who wants to go to sleep without any food in your house or tent or whatever they were living in, right? It's a little bit like, jarring. It's like, I don't have any like safety net. The next morning they woke up, it was spoiled. And Moses reprimands the people. And they lived like this for 40 years. We sometimes don't imagine this. For 40 years they lived with this awareness, not awareness. 40 years they lived with this reality of going to sleep at night without an iota of food in their homes. Do you know what type of faith and trust that exercises? To go to sleep. Let me ask you a question. It's hard to imagine. Like if you had no food, if you just didn't have what you needed the next day, how would you sleep at night? Would you be able to fall asleep at night? For 40 years they had to. They learned to fall asleep at night, trusting that tomorrow God would take care of them.
After the first week, when you get into that rut, knowing it's going to be there,
Sure.
and then have 39 years and
Of-
51 weeks.
Coasting. Could be. But it was a way of like training, like God's. And then on Shabbat, don't worry, 2 on Friday, you don't need it on Shabbat. You're gonna prepare for Shabbat. Incredible way of kind of training this idea of surrender. That is the theme of Shabbat. That's meant to extend beyond Shabbat. I want to read the next text. It's really beautiful. It's from a modern day author, Jamie Kahn. She, from what I found online, she lives in Brooklyn. She's a writer. She's a blogger. And she writes about Shabbos. So I'll just say Shabbat, Shabbos, same thing. So I'll just read it the way it's written. The first few times I kept Shabbos, I found it somewhat exhausting. I'd feel strange and uncanny with silence, as I'm someone who often enjoys the croons of NPR and background music. Mostly, I'm embarrassed to admit, my difficulty adjusting centered around my phone. It felt strange to leave the house without it for hours at a time to go to Shabbos dinners or shul. I'd wake up and reach for it before realizing that it wasn't there. But curiously, by Saturday afternoon, I'd always adjust. I wouldn't itch for it quite so much. I'd feel at peace more than ever before without it around. Often I wouldn't notice how natural it felt to be away from my phone until Havdalah on Saturday night, when the sun goes down and Shabbos ends, granted me access to my tech again. Quickly, I formed the habit of not wanting my phone back, of dreading the moment that scrolling would once again be sanctioned. After cultivating the peace of a tech-free day, I rarely desire my phone back again. Now, I'll sometimes leave it off until the next day. Now, I have a severe habit of losing my phone constantly. I frequently forget about it. By the way, that's a pro move. I know some people like that. I convinced myself that I need to turn on Saturday night, but pro move, I know people in this community that will not turn on their phones until Sunday morning. Keep Shabbat, keep the energy going. So the tech fast has served me well, but what about the rest of it? What about the pause on driving, cooking, and financial transactions? Often this means taking long walks. It means reading a favorite book. It means enjoying the company of those around you. It means letting yourself be bored, meditating, praying. It means basking in the beautiful experiences of enjoying the world in its current moment without altering it. Shabbos is a day for reflection and enjoyment, to breathe. Like meditation, it is restful and rejuvenating. Every time I observe Shabbos, it teaches me. I see the world differently, more beautifully, and I take it with me into my daily life. Just like and perhaps related to my habit of forgetting my phone all around the house, the way I see the world on Shabbos has opened me up to a deeper sense of mindfulness and appreciation on a daily basis. I feel like a more mindful person now. I can go for hours without my phone throughout the week. I have so many moments when I'm walking down the street, feeling the breeze in my hair, spending time with a friend I love, writing, doing yoga, whatever it is, where I feel so present in my current moment, so connected to the world and to myself and to my spirituality. I feel like Shabbos has enriched those experiences for me. And when I remember this element of Shabbos, it becomes my guiding light of the practice. So that even when I'm not feeling as strong in my Jewish practices, and even when I've strayed from my routine of observance, I know what I'm striving for. It's that feeling in those moments, and I allow that to guide me. And there are certain things that hit you in different places, like certain things that hit you intellectually, but this reading really hits me emotionally. Like I feel like it's so powerful of somebody articulating in such clear terms the idea that Shabbos is a gift. It's been said more than we've kept Shabbos, Shabbos has kept us. And I'm going to add a word to that, kept us sane. Because in a world in which it moves so fast and can pull us in to be so addicted to, and you're not going to hear anything new over the next, 30 seconds, but like so much that pulls us in and is optimized to get us, stuck in certain, I don't know, either wasteful habits or maybe even self-defeating habits, Shabbos, with its suggestion, right, that we just let go, we surrender a little bit, is so freeing. On Shabbos, you and I can have a conversation, and we know that there's not going to be anything buzzing or ringing or getting in the way. I mean, you couldn't put a price tag on that for family and friends and community. I mean, first of all, people do pay for this. People pay for like these types of retreats. They'll pay like, I don't know, $20,000 to go. And what's the big deal? You turn on your phone. I'm like, you could have saved your money and just done Shabbos. I mean, like legit. You could have, like, literally, like, I got the free version. It's Shabbos, and we do it every week, and it's amazing. Imagine sitting around the table with your family, and no one's distracted, and you can actually look at people in the eye, and they look you in the eye and have a conversation, and you invite friends, and you have family and friends together, and you're connecting, and then you couple that with going to synagogue and schmoozing with someone that you haven't seen all week, and there's no distractions. I mean, the only distraction would be someone else walks up and you're like, hey, I haven't seen you either. It's only about managing who you're talking to at any given moment, and that happens all the time, right? I mean, how many times have we all been, I don't know, eating at the kiddush luncheon, and it's like, hey, how's it going? Oh, hey, like, and you kind of sometimes get pulled from one to the other. But imagine, and it's the blessing of Shabbos. And the whole point is, it shouldn't remain 24, 25 hours. It should also extend Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so that we become more present, more surrendered to something greater than self and productivity in a world that says your worth and your value is tied to your productivity. Judaism says your value and your worth is inherent. We are not human doings, we are human beings. And by just being, we are holy. And that is the gift of Shabbos. And it's a gift that can keep on giving. It doesn't have to remain stuck in an oasis of time. It can extend and must and really should extend beyond that time.
And we used to have that before iPhones.
We used to have that. But you know what? In the time before iPhones, they were plowing fields. And on Shabbos, I thank God I don't have to plow a field. Whatever it was, whatever era it was, Shabbos says, it's all good. It's good. The work you'll get back to tomorrow night. Saturday night or Sunday morning, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. How many talks have I heard from like prominent business people, prominent, leaders of who shared their stories of Shabbos, whether they were born with Shabbos or whether they embraced Shabbos later in life, and how, at first the people call and I can't get a hold of you, and it's like, whatever. Oh, I know. I was dealing with an HVAC issue recently. There's a local company owned by an Israeli perfectioner, Andy Baranas, whatever, he's connected with Chabad. And so, I was speaking with one of his guys, Joe. He's the top technician. Speaking with Joe. So Joe tells me how, sometimes he'll frantically reach out to Andy on Saturday only to remember, he's not going to get back to me anyway. So he tells me that he then has to just figure out the solution on his own without calling the boss, because you can call the boss, but he's not going to answer. Why? Because the boss is calling the real boss for those 24 hours. All right. Make sense? I want to end with this. The inspiration of Shabbos, is meant to impact the Sunday and Monday and Tuesday of the next week, and that's why you can do Havdalah. And what is Havdalah, by the way? Havdalah is a weird thing. Havdalah is the ceremony in which we conclude Shabbat. But I have a question for this, or related to this. What kind of ceremony is there to conclude something? And you have to think, well, Olympics have an opening and closing ceremony. Okay, fine. You got me there. But it's weird. Have an opening ceremony, a kiddush, right? And then it ends, and you go home. It's like, oh, no. We're gathered here to end this. What kind of business is that? We're not really ending it. I mean, we're saying that we're ending it, but as we're saying we're ending it, we're once again evoking the Kodesh. We're evoking the holiness of Shabbat. And the subliminal message, if you play the record backwards, I'm kidding. The subliminal message is that we're meant to take the Shabbat energy into the week forward. That's why we light a candle. It's a torch, almost. It's like we're all granted a torch to go into the darkness or the challenge of the week ahead. Smelling spices, basamim, to invigorate us in the week, in the days, in the Monday, in the week ahead, and a glass of wine because, hey, sometimes you need a little l'chaim to get you going. I don't mean that flippantly, but I mean you need a little bit of energy and joy in the week ahead. And Shabbos is meant to impact the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. If you didn't do Saturday night, you did Sunday or Monday or even Tuesday. And by Wednesday, well, what about Wednesday? Wednesday, you're already, as we said before, you're already getting ready for the next Shabbat. The week is bathed in Shabbat energy, whether it's the Shabbat before or the upcoming Shabbat. It's always about the energy. So I asked at the beginning of the class, or I mentioned at the beginning of the class, it would seem that holidays and Shabbat are isolated moments on the calendar. Every 7 days is Shabbat. Once a year is the holiday. But according to deeper Jewish thought, these are not islands in time. These are meant to be moments that then spread out throughout the duration of our days and the duration of our weeks and really the duration of our years. And so, my friends, as we conclude tonight's class, let us remember the gift that we have, the gift of Shabbat, the gift of the holidays. And remember that gifts are meant to be enjoyed constantly, not just when you first open it, but it's meant to be an ongoing inspiration. Is there anything else I want to read, or that is it? I think that's about it. There are more text in the booklet, and you can take it home and read it. But I think that's the point. The point is we have these gifts. Let's unwrap it. Let's use it. Don't keep the gift in the box, right? Gift in a box is nice, but what are you going to do with it in a box? Open it up, enjoy it, and allow it to impact not only today, but tomorrow and the day after as well. In this way, Shabbat and holidays are also part of the constant mitzvot of Jewish life and observance. Make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. And by the way, it's Tuesday, so we're still working off the previous Shabbat. By the way, already on Wednesday, you can wish somebody Shabbat Shalom. I mean, you can always, I guess you could always, but like officially, formally, starting from Wednesday, you can throw in a Shabbat Shalom. Questions? Comments? Make sense?
Ari,
Yes.
I can clarify two things.
What?
It was Carnegie Mellon's Spring Carnival.
That's what it was. And how long did that fish last?
8 years.
We got corroboration. 8 years, the goldfish.
Wow.
I didn't even think it was possible. Like I remember every time I would come home from yeshiva, I'm like, the fish is still alive?
Really alive.
How is that even possible?
That's great.
These were fish that didn't last 3 days
That's a long
or 8 days, typically, in like 8 years. Anyway, good genetics. They then studied that fish. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. Maybe they should have.
But you know
They probably
what
should have.
It means that you kept the water so clean. That
My mom, that's all. I didn't. I left. I'm like, I gotta run.
I had a fish before. The life of the fish depends on how clean you keep that tank.
Nice.
So that's kudos to your mom.
When I was so inspired that when I was in yeshiva in Morristown, New Jersey, so my roommates and I, we went to a pet store, and we got some, I think, beta fish.
Yes,
No, not good?
no.
Beta, you can only keep one, you can't have.
Oh, only one? I don't know, whatever we had. We wanted to buy a shark, because we're like, that's so cool. Yeah. They sell, hold on,
Like a baby shark?
time out. Not a real shark.
Okay.
Not a full-size shark. Like a baby shark. Yeah, you could. We were open to the possibilities. We're like, that's a cool fish. That's like a little shark. So we're like, how about the little shark? They're like, what's your setup? Like, what do you have? And we're like, a bowl and water? They're like, nope. You cannot buy this fish. No, because it needs warm. It's got to be a warm water. It's got to have a whole special ecosystem. How about tap water? What would work in water? So we got the beta fish, and it lived.
But you did? You got the beta fish? Did you get a heater for the tank?
Maybe it wasn't a beta fish. I think it was a beta fish.
Oh,
Maybe it was an alpha fish. I'm kidding. I don't know what it was. It was a fish, but it lived.
You're supposed to get a heater for the tank. You're supposed to treat the water and take chlorine out of it. You cannot just put it into
Whoops. I don't know.
It could have been a betta fish. It was
Maybe it
not.
wasn't. No, it lived. It lived. It was like a bluefish. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe it was a dory.
I don't
Maybe it was Dory.
I don't know.
Who knows? Oh, maybe it was Dory fish and it forgot what fish it was. Sorry?
Gold fish.
I don't, I think I remember blue, but it could be just a false memory. I don't know. Anyway, the Kabbalah of fish. So, what's the moral of the story?
Right. No, but
Inspiration.
a lot of people
The inspiration continues.
they're
All right.
1 year, and then they're like, oh,
Make sense?
it's a year, that's what a fish is. No, it's really,
Pleasure.
I ended up fish sitting for a friend many years ago. She had to leave town and she had a fish and she was like, please watch my fish. And I was like, okay. And I did a lot of research into it, and it's like, I think a lot of people just don't know how much you have to do to take care of the fish.
There is a lot of care in a fish that we probably didn't know 100%.
I bought the nice tank, I bought the heater, I bought the
Nice.
filter, I bought it little,
All right. We're talking about fish over here around the table, but I'll let you guys go. Ellie, good to see you. Richard, good to see you. Danny, good to see you. Mom, good to see you. David and Dr. Maxey, good to see you guys. For those joining tomorrow night, we have an incredible class for all humankind coming up tomorrow night. We'll see you then. All right, Lila Tov, everybody. See you guys. Bye.